Nam. Satnam, everybody.
Satnam.
Happy Saturday morning. Full moon, super moon in Aries. How you doing? Are you
supposed to be doing?
well, you can be any way you want to be. That's the beauty of it. You know, it's always different. I think that what happens with a full moon is it magnifies. That's all. It intensifies. And the reason it's called super is because the moon is closer to the earth than other full moons. So then that just means more energy. So if you're in a good space, that's what gets pumped up. And if you're not, it can get a little dicey. But it's all perfect because this moon is really about, a full moon's about ending and banishing and clearing. But this particular energetic is really because it's been building this whole year. This whole 2016 has been about clearing the decks and getting things out of your way and that sort of thing. So this full moon might be really an opportunity for you to step forward, for you to really take an evolutionary leap and step forward in yourself and in something that maybe you've been working on. So here's the thing. This moon is in Aries and Uranus is in Aries. And Uranus is a big planet, it's a big deal. And when the full moon hits, it's going to be at the exact same degrees as Uranus in Aries. Now, what that means is Uranus is a revolutionary. It's like, let's shake it up, let's change this, let's move it. And Aries is very, woo! It just like marches. It's the first sign in the zodiac. It's the leader. It doesn't really think it through, not necessarily. And you need that kind of energy, right? You need that kind of energy out of the gate because it's like if you had, someone like an Aquarius like me, I'd be like, well, I don't know. I kind of need to see the facts. Where should we go? You don't want that out of the gate, right? So Aries is very much, I'm going to do it. It's going to be fine. Follow me. Sometimes they jump off a cliff and it's like, shit. But it's, it is big change and big power. Now, so that's the moon in Uranus, right? And then you've got the sun and Jupiter in Libra. So here's what I want us to breathe into today. The big change may affect your relationships. It might not feel like you're being a good girl or a good boy if you really step into who you are. It might not be politically correct, but you're feeling driven to step into your truth. And so, you just kind of have to relax because Aries may be messy today. It may have you blurting out and walking into traffic. But don't worry. It's like if that's what it takes today, then that's what it takes. We're going to do this Kundalini practice to have more awareness. It's called the yoga of awareness, so we can have an awareness of ourselves. And if you are really aware of who you are, then you know everyone in your life. I was thinking about this on the way down here. A long time ago, before I met Tony, I read this book called The Man-Woman Book. And the book, part of it was just a lot of like energy of men and women and like way back when where you had to have a man or you'd die and they just might kill you and shit, this is not good. So talking about that the underlying energy in our DNA is still kind of dangerous to be with a male. But then the polarity of that is whenever you're the victim or in the polarity, what does that victim have to do? They have to know everything about the opposing force. That's why women know more. Because we had to. To live literally hundreds of years ago, you had to understand that king and figure out how to get by, even if you didn't have a boy and you had a girl. How are you going to get through that without getting beheaded? You had to be smart, you had to be quick, and you had to be on your toes. And you could never seem afraid, even if you were terrified. So that is what we've been growing out of. And the men are really affected by that too, because they can't really relate or be in love with this energy, because that energy is always going to hide. You can't really get to a woman in that, because she's always, I don't want to let you two in. Now we're hundreds of years from that, but that's a current that's underneath it all. Now, as this book goes on, it talks about the healing and the empowerment of both sexes. And in the end, and this is what I think is so classic, because it has everything to do with the energy of today. In the end, the crux of it was, any man will do. Now, here's why. Because, and this is for a man too, any woman will do. Because if you are healed, if you really know and love yourself, if your energy is so elevated, then everything around you comes up to greet you. We know this to be true with the great masters, somebody like Jesus and the Buddha, maybe even Yogananda, that their consciousness was so big, even in the midst of critical attacks, their consciousness didn't budge. You know, they may have had the human thought of, oh God, this is a bummer, they're calling me the king of Jews and they're going to kill me. Shit. I hate when that happens. But at the end of the day, he held the light. He held the strength, right? So and why? Because he knew who he was. And that's what pissed everybody off. Because you can't touch somebody that knows they're God. What could you do to them? Even if you take their life, they're like, all right, I'm just going home to the light, I guess. You can't get to them. And by being that fearless, they can love so deep and so powerfully that it heals people just when they walk in the room. Now, this is what's amazing. We're in the Aquarian age. We're not Piscean, like the Buddha and the Christ and the Christian. We're not there. We are here now. And we are at a time where you get to remember who you are. Imagine if every single person in this room knew by the end of this class, I'm God. I'm untouchable. I am pure love. And I am going to go out into the world today and just give them the love. Because it's not going to weaken me. And it's not going to take anything from me. Because I am God. Swami Sri Yukteswar said, God is love. Love is the greatest power. So part of this Aries thing, and Aries would love to know their God. And it's so interesting because a lot of people think Jesus was an Aries, born on, I think, March 27th. Because we pretty much know he wasn't born on Christmas Day. I hate to bum anyone out. But it worked for the political regime at the time. But the point is we get to embody this fearlessness about knowing who we are and whose we are. And then we're a different kind of parent. Parenting is one of the most weirdest relationships because it's so powerful. It can hurt so much. Because you think they're you, and what they're doing is a reflection on you, and you're so afraid of them getting hurt and blah, blah, blah. But if we really know we're God, then guess what happens? You know your kid is God. And then you're less like, I remember when I was so freaked out when Treasure was like 12 and 13. She was so mean and bad. She was bad. No, she was always a good girl, but she was hard. She was bad in school. And she was mean to mama. I was like, oh my God. So lots of healing and lots of work, actually with Trisha Kelly, about taking my hands off the wheel and letting Treasure suffer the consequence of who she is. Or not. Here's the weird thing. Sometimes what with all my experience and, I know into it. Now, I remember this distinctly with my mom. My mother was really afraid of everything, who I dated, and I really took her fear on, and I lived by it. And I created what she was telling me until I put my foot down energetically and said, I can't buy into that anymore. And then there was a whole period in our life where I really, like when I met Tony, I didn't tell her. Because he was homeless. Who would have said that's a good idea? No, I'm just kidding. Not only that, he was an Aries, and he was like, oh my God, so like ironic, the things he would say. Anyways, because I knew I loved him and he was the one, mum's the word. Do not go shouting it to your friends or your mom who will dissect it. Just, if it's true, Marcia, then you knowing it ought to be enough. And that's a big part of this energy today, right? How many times do we go to our friends or go to our, I mean, when Tony wasn't into yoga, how many times did I have to get all pumped up at the solo yoga, go home and tell him about it just to have him go, whatever. Then what happens to me? I'm like, oh my God, that's, I don't feel connected to him. Now I'm doubting what really happened. It completely sucks the love and energy out of my experience. We have to be responsible. So here's the thing. If I was really loving and knowing who I was, I would never do that. Because I knew he was in a different space. Now, I'm not saying he was in a lower space. I'm not saying he was bad. I'm just saying it was different. And I knew it. And in order to love him and respect him, don't do that. And to love and respect me, don't do that. And to keep this that what's happening for me real, do not put that in front of people that you know are not going to take it in. Shine it. Be it. And I'll never forget when Tom Kelly told me, just shut up about it. Shh, not another word. And when I just did that and trusted, you know what? I'm enough. I'm enough to come to the soul and get something. My whole freaking family doesn't have to do it. I dragged Treasure here so many times, I think I ruined her with Kundalini. We're praying. But I fully accept that's on me. And she gets to have her own way. So this is what we're talking about today. That's all, what is it? Relationship, right? So that, isn't that the Achilles heel in being authentic? I would like to be me, but what if everybody doesn't like me? We do the Kundalini yoga so you have the caliber and the strength to not worry about that. It will all work out, I promise you. It will never work out, though, if you aren't who you're supposed to be. It'll break your heart. Even if you can have all the friends and all the love and acceptance, if you're not you, it's just not going to work. And the hardest ones are like our parents, our children, our best friend, the ones really close. You know, I have a friend that I've known since 8th grade. And there just came a point in this path for me where she just doesn't want to be around me. It's just so obvious. I try to be quiet, like don't talk about yoga, but my energy is just different. It doesn't match. Now, if I needed to keep her so bad, I wouldn't have you. We have to trust God. We have to trust this universe. Surrender. It's taking you to the best possible place today. And we do make the effort. And we have a plan and we work hard. But here's the thing. If the universe takes you on a swift left, what we're doing in Kundalini is to be able to relax into that. Where normally we wouldn't, right? We're working on our energy so we can go, instead of going, oh my God, that's not what I want. Instead, go, okay, not what I expected. The biggest thing is pause. Don't say anything. Try not to think too much. Just be there. Because what we know for sure is God does not make mistakes. It does not make mistakes. It does not do do-overs. And it never repeats itself. That's why you, me, all of us, we are all different. There are no repeats. The ego and the mind goes, well, I want to repeat because there's some stability in that, and that makes sense to me. And, you know, everything about God is alarming. And guess what? You're God. You're alarming yourself. So we're going to do this practice and heal ourselves. I mean, this today and every time you're with me, this is just about let's fall in love with who we really are and be okay with that because it's your greatest strength. I love you so much. Rub your hands together. Take a deep breath. Open your mouth and sigh. Inhale, bring your thumbs into your sternum and roll your shoulders back. Just this. Open up your heart and your mind to a miracle. Breathing into the idea that a miracle is a shift from fear to love. The greatest gift that this full moon is offering us is burning up and banishing and letting go of a huge chunk of fear. And in the vacuum of the absence of fear, love will enter. And we can leave this class today in a higher love. We can heal. We can expand. We can remember and be who we really are. We can catapult ourselves forward today. Yogi Bhajan says, the miracle is when you believe that you believe. So it's up to you, sweet ones. Are you ready to believe? Not a person said yes. Yes. All right. Are you ready to believe?
Yes.
Good. Let's believe in ourselves and rock this place. All right. Inhale to chant.